Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to our channel. Now, what is this about? This is about interpreting your dream, and it will come true. Now, let me tell you how I interpret my dream that came true and how everything came together. And it was like, wow, it just blew my mind. So, let me give you a backstory. So, I was at a job, I was a manager, I had hired a supervisor, and above me was my CFO, who I reported to. Now, for some reason, they decided that they were going to join forces to try to force me out or whatever they were trying to do. So I had an open door policy, and my staff always knew any issues, and we've had some, just come to me and we'll talk about it. Well, for some reason, they decided that they were going to have this meeting, the CFO, the supervisor, and my staff, and then they call me into the meeting. And I'm like, okay, has anyone ever said anything to me about any of what you are trying to bring up at this moment? And they were all silent. So, I just kindly dismissed myself because they know my policy. And what is this? Are you trying to railroad me into something? And the sad part about it is that since I hired the supervisor, what is this about? But then I realized she probably was trying to get my position. So I'm like feeling squeezed, and stressed, because it's always something every day, and some of you all have issues, on your job. And so it's like, well, what are you to do? So I started having this dream, and it was a reoccurring dream. And the dream was a tiger and a lion. And at this time, also, I was in school, and I was also doing some study in the Bible. And I was in Hebrews, and everywhere I was saying, sit down, sit down, sit down, throughout that book. I'll make your enemies your footstool. Sit down, sit down, sit down. So in the reoccurring dream, I had this lion and this tiger, and they were coming after me simultaneously. And so I'm like, "Oh my goodness, what do I do?" Because it was like one was coming from this direction, one was coming from the other direction. So I felt like I had nowhere to run in this dream. And all I kept hearing was, "Sit down. First of all, you're fighting them in your own strength. And I'm saying, let the universe handle this. I got this. You just need to sit down. You need to be at peace that it's all going to work together because you haven't done anything to either one of them and you are doing your job. So there's no need for someone to try to come and steal your joy, but also steal the position that the universe put you in." So I'm like, okay, so now I'm finally understanding the interpretation of this dream was that the CFO was the lion and the supervisor was the tiger. And so because both of them was coming at me, trying different things and tactics to throw me off game. And I truly was actually getting off game, and I was going to try to fight, back the way they were fighting. But that was unnecessary. This is what this dream was telling me is that the universe is going to take care of this. This is all unnecessary. What you're doing, you're tying yourself out, you're stressing yourself out. Let the universe take care of this. Your God of the universe, your creator got this. So sit down. So when I finally sat down in the dream, because I'm telling you, this dream kept reoccurring and they kept coming at me, and I'm just standing there not knowing what to do. Finally, after I kept hearing sit down, and I'm saying, sit down. They will devour me if I just sit down. But then I got this peace and I said, okay, I'm going to sit down. Now I have to trust the universe. So I sat down in the dream. And when I sat down, the lion came and laid his head on my knees, and the tiger laid at my feet, right at my feet. And that was it. They did not harm me, they did not bite me, and they were kind of like silenced. They didn't roar, anything. It was like they were just silenced. And I was like, wow, my enemies, my footstool. So now that when I finally got that interpretation, I had this dream for weeks, okay? I would say maybe 3 weeks. I kept having this reoccurring dream. I finally got that interpretation, finally sat down in the dream, finally had the lion and the tiger really under my control, at peace, could not harm me when I sat down. And this happened on a Friday. So I actually was commuting back and forth from like 2 hours away. And so also I had started going to the jail in the state that I was in to help encourage women that were incarcerated. And I was going with this pastor. And so one day she said, well, that Friday is when I got the interpretation. I sat down in this dream finally, and all that occurred. So that Saturday, she said, well, Sunday, I want you to go somewhere with me. It's not to the jail, but I want you to go somewhere with me in Virginia. And I just want you to be there because I'm going there to support. I'm not going there to preach or anything. So I'm like, okay, I'll take the ride. So I go there with her. And now these people do not know me. I do not know these people, never saw these people. So the minister calls me up and says, you will be elevated. You have passed the test. So I felt that at that time, wow, Friday is when I finally understood and interpreted the dream. And now he's saying to me, you have passed the test and you will be elevated. So I'm like, okay, I received that. That Monday, I come to work. I'm in my office. One of my coworkers coming to me and say, congratulations. I'm like, okay, um, okay. I didn't know what that was about, but they just said congratulations, looked in, didn't come in, and just walked on. So I'm like, okay, congratulations. What is that about? So then I hear the president and the CEO over the loudspeaker asking everyone to come to the vestibule, which is the area that we gather in for impromptu meetings, et cetera, et cetera. So we all get there. And, some people are kind of looking at me, and I'm looking like, okay. And at that moment, the CEO has this paper in his hand, and he says to me, Miss Hill, you have been promoted to associate director, and now you report directly to me. I was floored because now this has come true. The lion and the tiger cannot try to put no more squeeze on me. They have to settle down because they have no control. And now I was elevated to associate director and no longer having to report to the CFO. Now, yes, the supervisor is there, but now she sees that her little plan has fallen to naught. And I'm like, wow, the universe took care of me. God, our creator, took care of it. And in that dream, I had to surrender and sit down. So I got that interpretation, and it came true for me that the lion and the tiger had been tamed. They had become my footstool, and I was elevated. And I had no idea none of this was coming. Not a clue. I had no clue that I was going to be promoted and that I would no longer have to report to that lion. So it's not a special gift. It's just if you start to try to be in tune, if you keep seeking, if you have a reoccurring dream, just keep seeking and asking the universe, asking God, please help me get the interpretation of this. What is it in this dream that I need to do so that it can stop? And believe me, after that Monday, I didn't have the dream anymore. So I knew that it had been fulfilled. I had did what I needed to do. I had received what I needed to receive. I had surrendered in the dream and everything fell into place. things I didn't even know, things I didn't even desire. I never had desired to be on the senior staff. I didn't. I so to become an associate director, I hadn't even thought of that. I was content where I was. Never sought another promotion because when I first came there, I was the only person in that department. I built that department. I became the the coordinator, then I became the supervisor, then I became the manager. But then I got promoted to associate director because I finally got the interpretation of my dream, surrendered in that dream. Things came into play and fell into place, and I benefited tremendously and was relieved. The stress was relieved. All of that was relieved. So you too can seek the interpretation of your dream. Now, yes, I believe I have that gift and I have helped others interpret their dreams. So definitely, if you feel that you're stuck and you're getting bits and pieces, but you haven't got the fullness of what you need to do or what the dream means or where you're headed, then definitely you can contact me. You can email me at CHILLS as in Sam, HLL at AOL.com. I have a Gmail email because I guess you said AOL.com way back in the day. But the Gmail is so long. So that is just easier and it's more connected to my website, which is sayseals.biz. But I also have an Instagram at CHILLS as in Sam, HLL. So definitely contact me because I am here to help. That is what it's all about. Once we find out how to come down a path or go down the right road or go down the right path, then we are to help others reach their destiny and go down their path. So feel free. And I hope that this helped you to see that you can interpret your own dreams and everything else will come into play once you surrender within that dream. Whatever it is you're supposed to do in that dream, whatever it is you're supposed to get out of that dream, and you take some action, whether it's in the dream or out of the dream, then other things will bring confirmation and everything will work together for your good.